On June 12, 2009, a man checked into the Sligo City Hotel in Sligo, Ireland. Under the name Peter Bergmann, he claimed to be from Austria and provided papers saying as much. The man was then found 4 days later, deceased on the rocks at Ross's Point Beach. The investigation that would go on to occur would leave the police and the nearby residents of Sligo confused and looking for answers for years to come. Because in that investigation, it would be proven that this Peter Bergmann was not who he claimed to be, or rather, he wasn't anyone. The final 4 days of his life were caught on CCTV footage, showing him meticulously dumping his belongings, walking around the hotel, and exploring Sligo, almost as a ghost amongst humans. Was this the story of a terminally ill man who wanted to end his life on his own terms? Was this unidentified man the missing founder of Bitcoin? Or is there something even more nefarious beneath the surface? This is the depressing, unsolved mystery of the man who didn't exist, Peter Bergmann. Truly, this is such a strange case. I really think you're going to enjoy it, and my entire perception and belief of what actually happened in this case changed. But I do hope you enjoy. Grab a bucket of popcorn, grab a Dr. Pepper, sit back and relax, and enjoy the show. Every single year, an estimated 8 million people are reported missing around the globe. Now, some of these disappearances can be explained with logic and reasoning. Some people might be kidnapped, some people sadly might be trafficked, some people disappear on their own accord. But other cases, like the man in today's video, are unexplainable. They have no grounding in reality, and even today, with our modern technology, we still can't decide who this man was, where he came from, and how he ended up on the beach. But in order to make sense of any of it, we have to start back at the beginning and tell the story leading up to his death. What makes this case so unique is that his entire whereabouts were captured on footage on security camera the last 4 days that he was alive. Yet, even though there is footage of literally 80% of the things he does, that 20% that's not under the footage makes the mystery that much more unexplainable. This man, calling himself Peter Bergmann, checked into the Sligo City Hotel on the afternoon of June 12, 2009. Earlier in that same day, he was spotted at the Ulster bus station. At the station, he was wearing a black shoulder bag and a small carry-on bag, and after boarding the bus for Sligo and arriving there, he then took a taxi to the hotel he checked into. Upon approaching the desk, he paid for his stay in cash, and he gave the clerk the name Peter Bergmann. The address he provided was this. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, I don't want to butcher it. And he claimed this address was from Vienna, Austria. However, as you heard from the intro of this video, it would go on to be discovered that every single detail that I just told to you and that he told to the clerk was false. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. As seen in the CCTV footage, the man was not trying to be secretive on the surface. He was witnessed by many people inside the hotel and around other areas in the city, and he was reported by those people to be around 5 foot 10 inches tall, skinny, with trimmed gray hair, bluish eyes, and a tannish complexion. Most eyewitnesses claimed that he looked to be in his late 50s to early 60s, so an old dude. During his stay at this hotel, he conversed and kind of chatted with other people that were staying there, and those people would later come forward and claim that the man had a very thick German accent. By all accounts, to everyone who was looking on, this unidentified man seemed to be dressed like a well-groomed businessman. He wasn't a vagabond, he wasn't a drifter, he had a tailored suit, a nice haircut, and he wasn't off-putting. And at the time, nothing really seemed odd. He arrived to the hotel on the 12th of June, and the next day, on the 13th, he was captured walking into the Sligo post office at 10:49 a.m. Whilst inside the post office, he purchased 8 82-cent stamps as well as airmail stickers. The reason for these purchases is unknown. The next day, on Sunday, June 14th, the man walked outside of the hotel and he hailed a taxi. Once inside the taxi, he was discussing with the driver about beaches in the area, specifically beaches where he could go swimming at. He named off a few, but the driver said that he knew a place and that he would take him there and show this man where it was. The beach the driver had in mind is known as Ross's Point Beach. The taxi driver then drove the man to the beach. They looked at it, he hopped back in the taxi, and then the taxi driver drove the man back to the bus terminal. Throughout this entire duration and the entire stay at the hotel, every single day, several times a day, the man was captured on footage walking out of the hotel room and out of the building with a purple bag in his hand. The man would leave the hotel with this bag full of items and then come back and the bag wasn't in his hand. He had slipped it into his pocket. This would go on to occur multiple times every single day to the point where the clerks at the hotel would start to notice. And every day like clockwork, he would walk outside the hotel with that bag full of stuff and he would return with no bag visible. The next day on June 15th, the man walked into the hotel lobby and asked if he could check out later in the day, claiming he had some errands to run first. The clerk thought nothing of that because sometimes people would ask for later stays if their bus was delayed or their train was delayed, so again, no red flags. On this last day, right after he asked for a late checkout, the man walked to his room, and then again, just like every single other day, the man walked back out of his hotel room and back out of the hotel with a purple bag filled to the brim with items. It's thought that what this man was doing was getting rid of his personal items, his last vestiges of himself, and he was taking individual pieces of it in this bag every single day and going out to the parts of the city that aren't on footage and dumping them somewhere. After this final time where he walked out of the hotel with this really full purple bag, he returned, again with no bag, and went to his room to get his belongings. He eventually came back down to the lobby and checked out at the front desk, this time with a few different items. On his person, he was carrying a shoulder bag, the same one that he was seen wearing at the bus station. That purple plastic bag was also in his hands, and now a different, smaller suitcase was in his hands. This bag was not seen at the bus station or at the hotel ever. He then left the hotel and walked over into the direction of the bus station. He stopped along the way at a shopping center called the Quayside Store, and he was caught on camera kind of just standing there in the doorway of the shopping center. After several minutes of standing here, he then walked out of the shopping center and again walked towards the bus terminal. At 1:38 p.m., he got to the bus station and he ordered a cappuccino and a toasted ham and cheese sandwich. However, at the time between him leaving that shopping center and arriving at the bus terminal, he disposed of one of his bags somewhere. He was missing a bag, and no cameras picked it up. While he's in this little cafe at the bus station eating his food, he pulled out a couple pieces of paper from his pocket and he began to read them and scribble or write on them. Once he got done eating and drinking, he got it from the table, he tore the paper in half, and then he put it in the garbage bin right there. At this point, he boarded a bus heading to Ross's Point Beach. So to catch you up to speed and to make sure you're not missing anything in this case, this man arrived at a hotel, gave a fake name, a fake identity, and said he was from a fake place. He then checked into the hotel room and would leave periodically every single day, multiple times a day, with a bag full of stuff, and he would return with nothing in the bag. On his final day of staying there, he did it again, and then he left the hotel with a bag that he didn't come to the hotel with, only to walk to the train station and kind of aimlessly walk around the town, as you can see from the footage, arrive at the train station, drink a coffee, get a snack, and pull out a piece of paper, only to write on it and then throw it away. All of these moves that this man was making were either nonsensical or so well thought out that they appear to be nonsensical. Before I continue with this video, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Private Internet Access VPN. When you're browsing the internet with an unprotected device, like your phone, your laptop, your TV, that device is transmitting a great amount of information out into the open. And that information can be seen by a multitude of different entities before it actually gets to the intended website. And even connecting to public Wi-Fi networks, like the airport or a restaurant or even your friend's house. Your personal data, like your passwords or your photos, are all at risk of being stolen by hackers or internet service providers or government censors. PIA VPN services essentially shield that personal data by sending your information through an encrypted tunnel. But beyond keeping your personal information safe, PIA's VPN also allows you to access services that are usually dependent on your physical location, like streaming services, for example. PIA VPN helps you get past these restrictions by allowing you to change your IP address to any one of the 91 available countries and 50 US states that they offer. Pretty much watching and paying for streaming services without PIA is like paying for a 3-course meal but only getting to eat off the kids menu. Now, I like PIA VPN because it's so easy to protect all of your devices. You only need one subscription for all of them. It's also available across all platforms, like Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, all of those, which means that you'll be able to be protected no matter what. PIA VPN is also known as the world's most transparent VPN service. With over 30 million downloads, they never store or record any personal user data. And their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court, as well as by a third-party audit. So if you want to protect yours and all of your family's devices, you can try PIA VPN yourself by using the top link in the description, as well as in the pinned comment. And they are offering you all the spookly viewers, 83% off when you get yourself a 2-year subscription plan using the link below. And on top of that, you will also get 4 months for free. Now that all equals out to $2.03 a month for all your devices to be protected. And all you have to do is sign up using my code below. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee in case you decide to change your mind. Thank you to PIA VPN for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. Throughout the investigation of this man's disappearance and trying to solve who he was, the police around the area said that he knew what he was doing because the way he walked, the way he explored the city, the way he kind of moved around hinted to the fact that he knew how to avoid cameras and he knew how to not get caught on them. And he did just this whenever he wanted to. And at this point in the story, he's now headed to Ross's Point Beach. The next time he was seen was on the beach by a few witnesses that evening. Several people saw him standing there because he looked out of place. He was dressed in black dress attire and was bare feet on a beach, which is usually not what you go to the beach with. He had a newspaper under his arms and his bags on him. A couple friends saw him standing in ankle-deep water, kind of just staring into the sunset right in front of him, as if he was trying to soak up the final moments of the sun. 30 minutes later, another couple of people saw him standing a little bit further out in the water, once again, standing in the direct path of a low-setting sun. A direct ray covered his entire body, and he was simply standing and staring out into the ocean at this sun. This is the last confirmed time that the man was seen alive. The next morning, on June 16th, a father and his son were walking on the beach because the son was preparing for a triathlon, and they stumbled upon the body of Peter Bergmann. He was laying there lifeless on the rocks of the beach, and it was immediately assumed that he had drowned. However, this is just the beginning of the case, and the strange oddities have only peeked through slightly. The investigation and then his post-mortem autopsy would throw the investigators for a loop and would confuse the entire world. The man's body was taken in and examined. He was wearing striped swimming shorts, underwear, and had a dark blue shirt tucked into them. The man had no wallet, no money, no ID, or anything that would indicate who he was or where he came from. The bags and the newspaper that he was holding earlier from eyewitnesses were not there. Upon further investigation of the clothes that the man was wearing, it was discovered that all of the tags on the clothes were cut off, meaning that they were untraceable and you couldn't even see where he got the clothes from. Initial reports, like I said, assumed that the man had drowned. If you see a body washed up on the beach, that's your first thought. But after the Sligo medical examiner got a hold of the body, he concluded that there was no evidence to support a typical saltwater drowning. So there was no evidence of drowning, and as well, there was no evidence of foul play, homicide, or even suicide. The man was just not alive anymore. Even further investigation led to more startling discoveries. The man's teeth were in good shape, showing signs of regular dental work throughout his entire life. He even had a full gold tooth on the back right side of his mouth. But what was more interesting is what's deeper inside of his body. Analysis showed that the man was in terrible health. He had signs of advanced prostate cancer, as well as signs of heart disease. These cancers and sicknesses were so bad that his bones were developing tumors. Essentially, he was a dying man, waiting for it to happen. The examiner said that the man would have been in excruciating pain from the bone tumors and the cancers, and would have been on medication for it. But when a toxicology report came out, there was no medicine in his system at all, meaning that the man was just suffering. Despite thorough investigation, no cause of death could be determined. But I want to paint you a picture of what this man might have been going through. He was in undescribable amounts of pain. He had prostate cancer, heart disease, and was growing bone tumors. He left his life from wherever he was, and he came here to end it all on his own terms. So there he sat, watching one final sunset on the beach in a beautiful country as the waves lapped up on the shore around him. And as he stood there, he knew that he would finally be at peace after years of suffering. And he chose dying alone, watching the sunset over gasping for air in a hospital bed. To this day, the man remains unidentified. No family, no friends, no job, no fingerprints, no DNA samples. Nothing has popped up to indicate who this man was. There is no information and no findings on where he dumped his property in those little bags. There's no information about anything. It's as if he did not exist. But I truly believe that this was a dying man, a ghost among the living. And when you watch this CCTV footage, you kind of get that feeling that he knows he's just walking around his last few moments. It's as if his final wishes were to unburden himself from anything that tied him to this world. He wanted to fade away, he wanted to disappear, he wanted to go into the great beyond with no strings attached. He wanted to be forgotten, he wanted to fade away forever. And ironically, in doing that, he cemented himself to never be forgotten because of the way he did it. Life is full of those little eccentricities like that. When I began researching for this case, I came into it with the idea that this guy was some sort of like foreign spy or was some sort of like mobster, and he was trying to lay low and somebody put a hit out on him and they put his body there. Or he was somehow murdered. But after doing the research and watching all these documentaries about him, I believe he knew he was dying, I believe he knew he was in great pain, and he didn't want to cause anybody even a fraction of that. And who can blame him? When I die, I'd like my last moment to be watching the sunset over the ocean as I lay on the beach. There are several other theories as to who this man might be that also deserve to be talked about, and that's what this section's for. The theory I've told you this entire time, that he was a terminally ill man who knew he was going to die, and he came here to do so, that's what I personally believe. Not that you care or ask, I'm a YouTuber, what do I know? One theory is that Peter Bergmann is actually the missing Bitcoin founder, Satoshi Nakamoto. In 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto released the Bitcoin white paper, which of course changed the world. He's marked with being the first creator of the coin, and he actually owns 5% of all total Bitcoin, which totals to several billions of dollars worth. But sometime after 2009, Nakamoto vanished. He disappeared from the public eye completely, and friends and family and the public have no idea where he went, if he's still alive, what he's doing, or anything. When you compare what Nakamoto looks like to what Peter Bergmann looks like, they kind of share some similarities. They're both older men, they both have tanner complexions, and they both kind of walk around the same. But obviously Nakamoto is Asian, right? And Peter Bergmann was from Austria, or so he said, and he had some kind of German accent. So unless Nakamoto had a really killer German impression, I don't think these are the same people. Although the timelines do match up, and it would be very interesting that the founder of the currency that changed the world died alone with nothing to his name on a beach. I don't know. Some theorize that the man was some kind of German spy who either was excommunicated or fled the country. People who believe this theory cite the fact that he cut the tags off of his clothes and was knowledgeable enough to dump his items in places that would never be found. People say that that is spy training, or they're taught that, and that his behaviors match those who participate in espionage. Which, might be true. He did do some strange things to the viewers like us, but maybe he was trained as a spy, and that's why he did those things, and I don't know. Maybe the way he died was by consuming some untraceable poison from a tooth or something. It's unknown. Whatever the case is, whoever Peter Bergmann is, I believe he truly wanted to fade away and leave this world with no ties to it. Whatever happened in his life, whatever led up to this sickness, whatever caused this pain, it didn't matter to him anymore. He wanted to be faceless, he wanted to be nameless, and he went out doing just that. Nobody wants to die alone under chemotherapy in the hospital. He took a stand against death, and he made it wait until he accepted it. And if that was his intention, then he truly succeeded. Death comes for us all, but those who don't fear it never truly die. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed this case. There's been a ton of videos talking about it, but I genuinely wanted to cover it because of how it changed my perception. I really thought this guy was going to be some person who was like on the run, kind of like biding time in this little place, and he ended up just popping a tooth cap and, getting rid of himself. But after watching the documentaries that I'll link below and the articles that I'll link below, I truly believe what I've said a billion times. He's a sick guy who wanted to die in his own way. And that's why I believe this is the most depressing unsolved mystery ever. If you want more videos like this, please leave a like. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for everything you do. Go check out the description below if you want any of my links to my Twitter, my Instagram, any of that stuff. Thank you so much for everything. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.